Welcome. I have three friends today who have sometimes traveled with me, especially Nishi. She's been on several trips with me. And there's Kim and Shapuna, so she has traveled with me on several trips, including China. Right? Okay, so I customized this tour to Burma, and it's already been 10 years. I didn't realize it until I looked at the date. But it was a very unusual kind of a trip in that we were only 4 of us on that trip. And we piled into a minivan. We had our guide and our driver. And as usual, I customize my tours. I make them all-inclusive, so all the meals were included, all the tickets to the attractions, all the hotels, everything's included. And still the price was reasonable at that time. I don't know how much it is now. But anyway, let's get started. You see some of the favorite pictures that are on the front part of my presentation, and I'll show you all those places as I talk about them. Burma was a part of India during the British rule. It was never a part of India as an independent country. So under the British, it became part of the British colony from 1824 to 1937. And at that time, even people like my grandfather, who was a citizen of India, as a part of the British Army, he was stationed in Rangoon. And Rangoon is now called Yangon. So anyway, Burma became independent on January 4th, 1948 from the British at the time of 4:20 a.m. And that had to be an auspicious time according to their Burmese astrology. This is a map of India. And Burma is over here. In the middle is Bangladesh, which was part of India also before the independence from the British, and Pakistan ended up being West Pakistan and East Pakistan. East Pakistan later became Bangladesh. Now, very curiously, I belong to this part of India, which is West Bengal. I speak Bengali. The people in Bangladesh also speak Bengali, but they have a different dialect. And although we can understand and communicate with each other in Bengali, their dialect sounds very different from mine. So across from Bangladesh is Burma. And in recent years, when there was some political uprisings, the Rohingya people ended up going to Bangladesh, which is also a Muslim country. Most of India, of course, is Hindu, but there are pockets of Muslim communities, like places like in Hyderabad. Okay, so let's get back into Burma and continue my presentation about Burma. So this is an enlarged map of Burma, and we basically started our journey in Yangon, formerly known as Rangoon. And then we went into Bagan and certain areas of Mandalay and spent quite a few days in Inle Lake, which is a resort area. I think a year or so ago they had a bad earthquake there, so the people who lived in the Inle area ended up getting in difficulties with their houses and all that. and I'll show you more of that area. So Myanmar basically is a Buddhist country, and majority is Buddhist. The kind of Buddhism in Burma or Myanmar is called Theravada Buddhism. There are different schools of Buddhism. Theravada is the kind that the Lord Buddha used to teach, and it is his teachings that have come into Burma. The other forms of Buddhism is Mahayana Buddhism, and then there's another Vajrayana Buddhism. They are a little different in the way they follow the religions, and I don't want to go into the complications of the religions, but just know that the kind of Buddhism in Myanmar is the kind that is in Sri Lanka, that was also taught by the Buddha. So, according to whatever statistics that was done in 2014, 89.8% were Buddhists, and practically they are practiced by people in certain areas of Burma that I showed you. Christianity is about 6.3%, and they are in the areas of Chin, Kachin, and Karen. Islam is 2.3%, and particularly there are Rohingya people, Malay, Burmese Chinese, and Burmese Indian. Of course, 0.5% are Hindus in Burma, and my dad had a student who was a Burmese Buddhist monk, a lady monk, who was studying under my dad towards a PhD, but she was Indian in origin. The Buddhism in Burma has now gotten mixed up with their local native Nat worship, which is basically spirits. And we'll see a little bit of all that going on also, along with Buddhists as we see some of the Buddhist temples. Okay, as I said, the capital was Yangon or Rangoon, but they have another capital city for administrative purposes, and it has a long name that I'm not sure I can pronounce properly. It's Naypyidaw or something like that. And the colonial commercial center was around the Sule Pagoda, which is reputed to be about 2,000 years old. Now, one of the major pagodas in Yangon is the Shwedagon Pagoda. And in the next picture, I'll show you the entrance, but please make a note what the flag of Myanmar looks like. It's on the bottom, you can see, bottom left, and the flag of Yangon, the city itself, is on the right. This is the entrance of the Shwedagon Pagoda. There's a pair of leographs guarding the entrance to the walkway, and it's on top of a hill called the Singutara Hill. That's what the Shwedagon Pagoda looks like. There's a lot of gold in a lot of the pagodas in Burma or Myanmar. Now that's a more enlarged picture of the Shwedagon Pagoda. It's about, the hill that it's on is about 167 feet, and the pagoda itself is about 365 feet from the base to the top. It's one of the pagodas that you can see in the skyline of Yangon. Here I have shown how it's constructed. The base is the widest part, there are the terraces, and then there's a turban part that looks like an inverted arms bowl, and then all going up there you see like lotus petals, a bud of a banana for some reason, an umbrella crown, and over here is the top. Okay, so it's not just one pagoda, but there are several pagodas that are in the Shwedagon complex. And here you see some of the different sceneries. She's our guide. Susu, she called herself. I said, don't call yourself Susu, just Su is enough. Anyway, most of the lights go on towards the evening, and they are called lighting of the 1,000 oil lamps. So the top of the Shwedagon Pagoda has diamonds, 4,531 of them to be exact. And the biggest one is about 72 carats. And it's a good example of the Burmese architecture. So over here is an area where my friend Usha and I went to, because that area is dedicated for people who had birthdays on Tuesdays, who were born on Tuesdays. And over on this side, you see President Obama.
Oh, yeah.
He's paying his respects, and he has a Friday birthday. So this is the area for people with Friday birthdays. So Usha and I were over there. President Obama was in a different area of the pagoda complex. Now this is Aung San Suu Kyi. She's a Nobel Prize winning leader of Myanmar, because she was married to a British person, and that was supposed to be a no-no. But anyway, she had quite a bit of power, and she did a lot of political activities in the country. So Aung San Suu Kyi, her father's house is what we visited over here. Very simple house, but we were not allowed to take any pictures inside. We could only take pictures outside in the garden area. Her husband's name, by the way, was Michael Eris. And when she came back to Burma to take care of her ailing mom, she was put under house arrest. So I don't know which house she lived in, maybe this one. But that's her childhood house. It had quite a nice bit of a garden area. And so here are some pictures of the garden. Here's another area whose name I really can't pronounce. Is where they had a structure of a reclining Buddha. It's Kiki or whatever. The name is up there, if you can read it. It's a place where it looked like an open warehouse, but there's a big structure of a reclining Buddha. And we could go up certain structures to look at it, or to look at it from top. But what's curious is the feet, underneath the foot, they had a whole lot of, I guess, sculptures or etchings or whatever. And they're supposed to be representing 108 lakshanas, or auspicious characters of Buddha. So this we could see from above. Now what you see over there was supposed to be a palace called the Kara Lake Palace. And it was built in the form of a royal barge. And this is where we went to see a show and have dinner. We had a buffet, luxurious, very nice dinner. And the show was wonderful also. This is one of the hairstyles of the Burmese people. And here are the people who have very long necks. Later on during the tour, we went to the village and visited with people who had long necks, and I'll tell you what they do to get those long necks.
Among the Kayan, also known as the Padang people of Myanmar, the wearing of brass neck rings is a cultural tradition passed down through generations. This practice is deeply connected to identity, heritage, and community. The brass rings do not stretch the neck itself. Instead, they rest on the upper chest and shoulders, gently lowering the shoulder line and creating the visual appearance of a longer neck over time as part of this tradition.
Yeah, just like the Chinese people have those shoes, special shoes to prevent their legs from getting big. They have ways of putting long bracelets around their necks as the child is growing up, and that gives them the giraffe necks. So anyway, here are some sights that we saw from the show that we went and saw while we had dinner. And these are my three travel mates. Usha, you've seen her here before. Today happens to be her birthday, and so she's celebrating with her family. This is Bonnie, my friend Nishi's good friend. Nishi is here today. And that's my friend from Sri Lanka. You saw her in my Sri Lankan presentation. We were classmates. And this is our guide, Sue. Okay, so the next city that we visited was Bagan. And it's a very interesting city that at one time had about 13,000 pagodas. And now there's fewer, but it's amazing how it looks from above. And I'll show you how it looks from above later. So this is our hotel grounds, and it was across from this big Mount Pagoda, Popa, where they had another white pagoda there. But that was across the river. The main river in Burma, of course, is the Irrawaddy River, and we had chance to cruise certain parts of the river as we took our tour, Irrawaddy River. But this hotel was on 22 acres, and we all lived in small villas. On the premises, they had several pagodas also. So this particular one, like I said, was across the river. It was a pagoda that's above 4,981 feet on Mount Pupa. In our country we call them daguas. In Sri Lanka, in India, we call them daguas. But here's my friend Usha sitting in the back of a horse-driven car. Our day in Bagan began with a hot air balloon ride. I, of course, had been on a hot air balloon ride in Turkey, in the Cappadocia area, but this classmate of mine from Sri Lanka said, "Come on, let's go again. I want to take a ride." So we got into this bus that was pretty much of a jalopy, and then we saw them blowing up the balloons, and pretty soon, after a little breakfast, we took off. And there we are, in one of these baskets, and this is how the city of Bagan looked with all the pagodas, what remains after earthquakes. So we visited some of these pagodas when we were in Bagan. It's a World Heritage Site, and like I said, at one time there were 13,000 temples that were constructed between 9th and 13th century. But after an earthquake in the 20th century, they only have a few remaining. 2,300 temples and pagodas still remain. So let's see if I can show you a video.
Welcome to Bagan, Myanmar. A timeless wonder that transports you to a world of ancient splendor and spirituality. In this video, we'll explore the rich history, captivating temples, and the unique cultural heritage that defines this breathtaking city. Bagan, formerly known as Pagan, was the capital of the First Burmese Empire from the 9th to the 13th centuries. The city flourished as a center of Theravada Buddhism, leaving behind over 2,000 well-preserved temples and pagodas that dot the landscape. As we delve into the heart of Bagan, you'll witness the architectural marvels that stand as a testament to the artistic and engineering prowess of the ancient Burmese people. The temples, with their intricate carvings and towering spires, offer a glimpse into a bygone era. Our first stop is the Shwezigon Pagoda, a golden masterpiece that is considered the prototype for all stupas in Myanmar. The pagoda's golden stupa gleams under the sun, and its sacred aura captivates visitors from around the world. Next on our journey is the Ananda Temple, an architectural marvel that combines Mon and Indian styles. This iconic temple boasts 4 standing Buddha images, each facing a cardinal direction, symbolizing the Buddha's endless compassion. We can't ignore the imposing presence of the Dhammayangi Temple, the largest temple in Bagan. Steeped in mystery and tragedy, this temple's construction is said to have been ordered by King Narathu, who was both ruthless and ambitious. As the day draws to a close, we find ourselves at one of the many sunset viewpoints in Bagan. The sky transforms into a canvas of warm hues, casting an ethereal glow on the temples. It's a moment of serenity and reflection, a perfect way to conclude our journey through this timeless city. Bagan, Myanmar, a destination where the past and present coexist in perfect harmony. The temples, the people, and the landscapes weave a tapestry of beauty and history that leaves an indelible mark on all who visit.
So they talked about the Shwezigon papaya or the pagoda. That's different from the one we saw in Yangon. The Shwezigon pagoda was built by King Anawartha, who lived or ruled between 10,044 to 77. And it was completed by a different king, Kyan Sitha, in 10,084 to 11,113. It's a prototype of Burmese stupas, and it has a circular gold leaf gilded thing surrounding the smaller temples. Now, it's supposed to have some relics or hair strands of the Lord Buddha. When we saw the Sri Lanka presentation, we saw the other temple, the Dalada Maligava in Kandy, that has a relic of the tooth of Lord Buddha. So here you have hair strands of Buddha. Now, somehow the local Nat spirits are involved in the practice of Buddhism in this temple. Little closer view of some of the spires of the pagodas, and they're all gold. Now inside the Shwezigon pagoda are 4 different kinds of images of Lord Buddha facing in different directions. And they all have different names, which I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing. But apparently these were images of Buddhas that came before the Gautama Buddha, who we know as the main person in Buddhism. And Gautama Buddha's image is the last one on the right. And these are all the other Buddhas who have come before him. But it is his teachings that are now there in Sri Lanka and Myanmar, Vietnam, and a couple of other Asian countries. The teachings of the Buddha got changed a little bit when it went into China. And there they practice Mahayana Buddhism, where they postpone their own salvation, the release from the birth, death cycle. They postpone it and they help others attain that enlightenment before they go for the highest or nirvana state. More images of the Shwezigon pagoda, and the original was destroyed by the earthquake in 75, and it has about, at this time, 3,000 copper plates on that, and most of them come from donations from local, national, and international visitors. So this was one of the temples that we visited when we were in Bagan, and it's called, again, I can't pronounce the name, Ti Lo Min Lo or whatever, and it was built in AD 1211 by a king who has a long name, Nantuangamaya or something like that. It's a double-storied structure rising about 150 feet from ground level, but the base square is about 140 feet on each side. And now we see fine sculptures inside the temple that still remain. And Burmese have a habit of putting gold leaves on the structures wherever they see a Buddha statue. And later on, when we are in Inle Lake, I'll show you another temple where they have gone and put so much of gold leaves on top of the Buddha that you cannot recognize the structure. But there's our group, Bonnie, Usha, Padmini, and me, at the base of that temple. This is another temple in Bagan, and that was built by, it's the Ananda temple. It was built by Kyanzitta, I guess he was a king, in 1091. And here again you'll find the 4 different Buddha statues, and the one that was Gautama Buddha, he's in teak at this time. But I don't see a picture of him. And in the middle, in the orange outfits, are, but I guess student nuns or monks who are going to be, I guess, full-fledged monks when they are fully trained. We went for a buffet when we were there in Bagan, and it was a really sumptuous meal. But there we were treated to a puppet show. So here are the puppeteers on top and the puppets at the bottom. We also visited another monastery where we saw a lot of monks in training, and it was located in the city of Amarpura, and it's a relatively new monastery in that it was constructed or started in 1942. It was by the lake Tongadman. I'm really messing up on all the names. But the bridge that I'm standing on is called the Ubain Bridge, and it's 1 kilometer long teak bridge. It's the longest and the oldest teak bridge in the world, built in the mid-1800s by salvaging unwanted teak. And here we visited a handicraft store that was really overloaded with a whole lot of different handicrafts made by local artisans in Burma. Lots of statues, some amount of stitchery work, a lot of woodwork, and I took a lot of pictures, but it's difficult to put everything here. We went to another place of interest in Burma called Mingun. We took a boat ride on a private boat along the river Irrawaddy, and it was, I guess, a place called Mingun that's about 6 miles from the place called Mandalay. And there what we saw was a beautiful pagoda that was all in white. And this place is famous for the bell. It's called the Mingun Bell. And that bell is a gigantic bell. It weighs about 90 tons. It's the second largest ringing bell in the world. Its outer diameter, that means going this way, outer diameter is about 6 to 12 inches, well, is about 12 feet, and the outside circumference is about 50.75 inches, and the thickness of the bell itself is about 6 to 12 inches, and it's about 20.7 feet high. So this, whatever the name of this pagoda is, Sinbiumi or whatever, Paya, was built in 1816 by King Bagido in memory of his consort, just like the Taj Mahal was built in memory of the Queen Shahjahan's queen, Mumtaz. So anyway, This is a very interesting place. We rode a bullock cart, and that's me. But my pictures are not clear because it was never intended to be enlarged to this point. Okay, here we are seeing a monastery, Shenandoah Monastery in Mandalay. It was built in teak wood. And here you find a lot of sculptures on the walls. And it was really very nice to look at when you walked in through it and saw all the beautiful wood carvings that were on the walls and ceiling. Didn't see that much of gold, but we could see a lot of gold anyway, but not like the other pagodas. Now this is the Quathador Pagoda, which is at the base of Mandalay Hill. It was really a gorgeous pagoda that we climbed onto and then saw the view of Mandalay from up above. And this pagoda was in the form of a pagoda, but there were smaller pagodas going all the way around that was supposed to be the teachings of Buddha etched onto slabs in each one of these. And the book, I think, is called the Tripitaka. That was all etched in these little structures that you found around that main pagoda. So here's another pagoda that we saw on Mandalay Hill. And again, there's a lot of ornate work, a lot of tile work that we saw inside here and along this wall. And we could see the site of Mandalay below us during sunset. Now we went into some caves called the Pindaya caves. And inside those caves we saw thousands and thousands of sculptures of the Lord Buddha. And it's a limestone hill in the center of Burma, and not too far from the Inle Lake where we spent a few days. And we'll be going into the Inle region pretty soon. So they say they have about 9,000 sculptures inside in the Pindaya caves. We went into an umbrella workshop and we saw them build the bamboo umbrellas that the Burmese people are associated with. Now what's interesting in this workshop is that they actually built the umbrella base with bamboo, but then they covered it with silk on top. And you see some people here who are making the umbrellas. These people are making the umbrellas. And my friend Usha decided to put her name on the wall. Hello, Usha, okay? And then she put the date there. I can't read it. Sometime in January. Uh, 2016 or 2015 it'll be. We were in Sri Lanka during the New Year, and then we flew into Myanmar.
10 years.
Okay, now here's another teak monastery that was built in the early 19th century, and it was red painted teak. And here you see the monks going through training. Really young kids, they go through religious training as novices. And they have to wake up early, wash in cold water, sleep on mats, on wooden floors, eat only 2 meals a day, and then the rest of it they go through training. Most sites in that same monastery, they got thousands of niches with glass mosaic work A lot of the carvings are dedicated to the Buddha and his life. So finally, we get to the Inle Lake area, and I showed you earlier in a bigger map where Inle Lake was located in the Mandalay area. So our hotel was a pristine lake, pristine resort, pristine lotus, and we lived in little cabins like that, or chalets, whatever you like to call them. Each one of them had a balcony, and so my friend Padmini and Usha are enjoying the balcony by the waterside. And anytime we had to go to see any sights around Inle Lake, in and around Inle Lake, we had to take a boat. So you'll get to see later on what a boat ride on Inle Lake felt like. Now this is an Inle Lake fisherman. Somehow they row the boat with one leg, and they also catch fish in this conical looking thing. He rows the boat with one leg and catches the fish with this net. So you'll see him in action when I show you a video of that area. So here we are going to look at the lifestyle of the people who live around the Inle Lake. And we're visiting a lotus weaving factory where they use the fiber from the lotus stems to weave cloth of different kinds, silk cloths of different kinds using the fiber of the lotus stem. And the cheapest scarf that we could find there was $70 American currency, which of course is too high for the local people. But anyway, they had these scarves available for those of us foreigners who wanted to buy them. Now this is a typical market in that area. I think these are moving markets. They are not there every day of the year, but as they move around to different places of Inle Lake, they set up the market. For 5 days, they're there selling their goods. And you can just about buy anything from food to clothes to nuts to spices and tea and coffee, and you name it, they've got it there. I bought this outfit from one of the stalls, a clothes lady. Maybe I bought it from her, I don't remember.
Bargain.
Yeah, they bargain. You can bargain, but when they know they're foreigners, they don't go down too much. Here are some of the sites these are their homes. They're all built on stilts, and they store a lot of their household stuff in the water, in little boats, in these stilt things under their house. And here's a farm that they have set up. And usually these are floating, but they put down these long stakes that kind of embed at the base of the lake, so they keep from moving. I don't know if you recognize, I know my Indian friends will recognize this kind of squash. I think here in America they call them Oppo squash. And you can find them in Ranch Market.
I buy it.
In Ranch Market and Indian stores. So Inle Lake was surrounded by a whole bunch of mountains. It was a really beautiful area. And here are two locals sailing to do their daily whatever they're doing. We visited the long neck ladies. They're called the Padang women. And their necks are extremely long. From when they're small, they start putting these big bracelets around their neck, and as the kid goes older, they get additional neck rings. And they don't take them out because their necks can't be supported without those bracelets. So it doesn't feel too good to look at them, but I guess in their tradition and culture, long neck women are beautiful. Our necks versus their necks in this picture. My friend Padmini and I are sitting there, and over here, what, Usha and Bonnie are there? I see Bonnie there, there's Padmini there. Usha is there. Well, whatever, but these are the long neck women with the bracelets around their neck. And they said that they were a form of protection from tiger attacks. The tigers wouldn't get to their neck that way. So here's another monastery. Again, I have a problem with the name, but it's better. Na Fe Chong Monastery. And this is a monastery that was built in the 1850s. It's one of the oldest monasteries around the Lake Inle. And this place is also known as the Jumping Cats Monastery. It seems like in earlier days, the monks used to train the monkeys to jump through hoops. But I think I read somewhere in 2019, they stopped training these cats for whatever reason. But this monastery is known as the Jumping Cats Monastery also. So now we go into another temple or a pagoda that's very close to the other Jumping Cats place, where they have 5 images of Buddhas that are unrecognizable because they put those gold leaves on top of these Buddha's images. And it seems like only the men can put the gold leaf on the Buddha due to whatever reason. So they banned the leaves from being put on the Buddha images. But once a year, they have a parade where they take those images all around in that area on a boat that they make that looks like the Karvaik Palace we saw in Rangoon where we had dinner. This is a model or a replica of that one. So annually they do an 18-day festival where they take those images around. Although they have 5 images in that pagoda, they leave one behind in the pagoda and they carry 4 of them. So at one time they thought they lost one, but when they went back, they found one was already there. So from then on, they only take 4 of the 5 images and have one of them guard the temple. Okay, now here I get to try my luck, trying to show you Inle Lake.
Inle Lake is the second largest lake in Myanmar, covering about 45 square miles. The water depth ranges up to 12 feet except for the rainy season when the water can be 5 feet higher. Some 70,000 Intha people live in villages around the lake and in stilted houses on the lake itself. Most transportation on the lake is by small boats with a single-cylinder diesel engine. Local fishermen are known for their distinctive rowing style, which involves standing at the stern on one leg and wrapping the other leg around the oar. Large areas of the lake are covered with floating vegetation, and you can see farther when standing. These floating gardens are held in place by bamboo stakes, so they won't float away. The matting has become thick and dense over the years, and nowadays many tomatoes are harvested in this area. Every morning, fishermen are out on the lake with their nets and assorted fishing gear. They slap the water with their paddle to bring fish to the surface.
This is my last slide. This tour was put together by a company called the Classic Tour Collections, and the company is based in Redondo Beach in California. The CEO of the place is a lady, Devika Sen, who I met when I went to a travel show in Santa Clara, and she happens to be the daughter of a famous Indian swimmer by the name of Mihish Sen. Her name is Devika Sen, and Mihish Sen swam the English Channel and is the first Asian to conquer the English Channel from Dover to Calais in 1958. And he's done it the fastest in 14 hours and 45 minutes. So again, this tour was an all-inclusive tour with 4 to 5 star accommodations, and meals and all the attractions and transportations were included. We had a traveling guide and a driver. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah,
The long neck ladies
yeah.
with bracelets, did you ever find out whether when they sleep, they'll take off the bracelets?
No, they don't take them off at all.
They never take them off?
No, they just leave them. In fact, every year they add one more ring, and that stretches their neck further. But they go to sleep on them.
They sleep with them.
Yeah,
Ooh.
How do they clean it?
yeah.
Do they clean their neck?
Huh?
Nighttime also.
Do they clean their neck?
Yeah, how do they clean the neck?
I guess they don't, other than when they add one more, they clean it before or do whatever. That I have to look up, but no, they don't take them off.
Yes.
They keep them on because their neck can't be supported otherwise when they're so long.
Ah,
So the bracelets support them.
another sensitive question.
Mm.
The stilted houses,
Yeah,
what are their bathrooms like?
I don't know. I've never been in one of them.
Probably a hole in the floor.
I guess they must have a hole in
Into
the
the
floor.
water?
It's possible.
Don't know. Never asked. Never thought about it.
Oh,
But our accommodations in that hotel had regular toilets,
ah,
had Western toilets.
yes.
Yeah.
Is,
So,
is
Yeah.
do you know, is Aung San Suu Kyi now a free woman or is she under house arrest still?
I don't know.
Ah.
Wikipedia had a long write-up on her, along with the history, so that might be a good place to go and look into. I started reading it and it was so long, I started getting all mixed up. So I don't know what's the latest status.
Yeah.
But they do have some issues going on, political and tribal. Yeah. That's it.
Are you gonna be doing another tour?
Not of Burma, but I've been dreaming about going into Japan to see this fall foliage. And I'm looking for a roommate. Somebody's got to come with me, otherwise I'm going to miss the fall foliage this year. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm working with a tour company, and I think it's probably better to cruise most of it, and then see a little extra in Seoul, Korea. So I'm still going back and forth with that agency because I want to go in October.